Simone Biles tearing down Riley Gaines is probably the most disgusting thing I've seen in a long time. To go one step further and tweet that Riley Gaines, her actual competition, and quote unquote pick on somebody your own size would be a male. I've never been a fan of Simone Biles. She's always been a mean girl. You guys just never paid attention to the signs.
So when it comes to the Olympic gymnast Simone Biles, up until now I didn't pay much mind to her, but her talent was undeniable, and the fact that she was also abused by the infamous Larry Nassar makes for a story of adversity, which is admirable to say the least. And her decision to withdraw from the 2021 Olympics due to her having the twisties, a mental health condition in which gymnasts lose track of their position mid-air, my reaction was empathy.
No injury, thankfully, and that's why I took a step back, because I didn't want to do something silly out there and get injured. So I thought it was best if these girls took over and did the rest of the job, which they absolutely did. They're Olympic silver medalists now, and they should be really proud of themselves for how well they did last minute having to go in. And it's been really stressful, this Olympic Games. I think just as a whole, not having an audience, there are a lot of different variables going into it. It's been a long week. It's been a long Olympic process. It's been a long year. So just a lot of different variables, and I think I just felt like it would be a little bit better to take a back seat, work on my mindfulness, and I knew that the girls would do an absolutely great job, and I didn't want to risk the team a medal for kind of my screw-ups, because they've worked way too hard for that. So I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to. So it's okay sometimes to even sit out the big competitions to focus on yourself, because it shows how strong of a competitor and person that you really are.
And I didn't like how some of the conservative influencers were using it as an opportunity to pile on her, like Michael Knowles.
At all. So Simone Biles is apparently a very popular and accomplished gymnast. And Simone Biles decided, because she performed badly in some event, that she was just going to quit the Olympics. She was sent to the Olympics to represent the United States, to bring home medals, to do sport battle against other countries, and to bring home medals for the United States. But then she just wasn't feeling it one day. I mean, this is sad. This is pathetic. This is disgraceful. But I don't want to be too hard on Simone Biles here, because I think Simone Biles is the voice of her generation. I think she is the voice of a generation that was not taught duty, that was actually taught to mock duty, that was taught to mock honor, and the things that are higher than one's own pleasure and one's own comfort. Because she's not there to have fun, and she's not there for herself. Think about the person whose spot she took. Think about the people who spend their whole lives trying to make it to the Olympics. And then this gal took another gal's spot, and then because she just didn't have the right feels that day, she said, no, I'm not having as much fun as I used to. Imagine the guys storming Normandy. Say, this isn't as fun as it used to be.
Or Charlie Kirk.
So Simone Biles, who's obviously a very talented gymnast, decided not to compete. Simone Biles says, this Olympic Games, I wanted to be for myself when I came in, and I felt like I was still doing it for other people, as she cried after the team event on Tuesday. So it hurts my heart, because doing what I love has been kind of taken away from me to please other people. Yeah, that's the point, Simone Biles. You're representing your nation, you selfish sociopath. You kidding me?
Which, look, I've made multiple videos on here talking about Michael Knowles and how he gets a lot of things right. But this was not it to me. Because first of all, comparing this to someone's active duty on the Battle of Normandy is way off for me. Because yes, I get that you're representing your country, but it isn't the same as war, not by a long shot. Or Charlie Kirk just straight calling her a sociopath came across as heartless. I get the perspective that maybe she was getting too much praise at the time for quote-unquote quitting, or that maybe we give too many participation medals or something. But I mean, I'm not in Simone's shoes, so to judge her as a quitter felt like it wouldn't be fair, at least for me. Point is, at the time, this was one of those takes where I just find it interesting that you're getting that worked up over it. Me personally, I was like, live and let live. But as of recently, my view on her has shifted a bit, at least with her current actions. I cannot defend it, because controversy started when Riley Gaines posted on X, calling out Champlain Park in Minnesota softball team as she believes they won due to a boy being on that team, referring to one of their players, Marissa Rothenberger, who is a transgender woman. To which Simone quote tweeted that, calling Riley truly sick, and saying she's campaigning because she lost a race, that she's a sore loser, and that she should be uplifting the trans community and finding a way to make sports inclusive, but instead she bullies them. and that no one in sports is safe with her around. Then following that up with an ad hominem attack, bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male, despite the fact that Riley is only 5'5", which is totally normal. Which Riley's height aside, the fact is she doesn't do what she does just because she lost a race. Well, first of all, she tied with Leah Thomas, so another factually incorrect statement. But there's more to that. It's also that the still fully intact biological male exposed his man parts in the locker room, and anytime she tried to talk about it, the head honchos pretty much ignored her and didn't let her talk on the matter. It's the fact that they feel unsafe with men in their spaces and don't want to lose out on opportunities to men who are on average biologically stronger. It's just a fact. Which is why so many young girls were rejoicing when Donald Trump signed the executive order to keep men from women's sports. But either way, Riley did clap back.
Yesterday, Simone Biles, the Olympic gymnast, the best of the best, bar none, there is no one else even remotely in her league in women's gymnastics. I guess in an attempt to be inclusive and virtuous, decided to sell out all women and girls who have dreams to achieve and to succeed, and to specifically personally attack and body shame me. She tweeted this out of the blue, like this came out of nowhere, and she said, "Riley, me, you're truly sick, all of this campaigning because you lost a race." First of all, if she's insinuating I lost to a man, I've lost several races in my career, duh, that's part of being an athlete. But if she's saying I lost to a man, that's factually incorrect. We tied, besides the point. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Let me get something straight. It's my job. It's the women's job. This is what Simone Biles is saying. It's the women's job to find a way for the men's feelings to be validated, for their identity to be affirmed. That's not my job, actually, at all. So to say I should be doing this is insane. If she wants to use her platform to uplift men and women's sports, then by all means. But it's certainly not my job, and I don't believe it's the job of any woman to do this.
And one thing I'm going to say is that if anyone has the right to be cold and numb to this inclusivity crap, it's Riley. Not just because of how she felt the sport was being taken away from her, but that she would get physically attacked for speaking her mind. Like she would need police detail to protect her because the alphabet mob was ruthless. But continue, Riley.
Then out of the blue, she tweeted this: "Bully someone your own size," which would ironically be a male, which is hilarious, really for two reasons. Number one, she's acknowledging there are differences, like physiological, biological differences between men and women in saying this. Secondly, I'm 5'5", which might seem like a giant to someone who's like 4'7", 4'8", but I'm pretty standard size for a woman. I guess like relatively muscular, right? Being an athlete, I would imagine Simone would understand that, but I weigh like 135 pounds, 5'5", of pretty much pure muscle. And again, if anyone would understand that, you would think it's Simone Biles, a woman who has historically been scrutinized for having a very muscular, masculine-looking body. She was scrutinized to the point she did this whole body positivity campaign. Then she has the nerve to say that I look like a man. And not to mention, this is a woman who has been incredibly brave in calling out and witnessing the horrific sexual abuse that she and hundreds of other female gymnasts faced at the hands of one sexual predator, that predator being Larry Nassar. In the same breath, believing that vulnerable women should be forced to strip down naked in front of men in locker rooms so long as it makes the man feel happy. If Larry Nassar came out as trans, would Simone think it's responsible or safe for him to be housed in a women's prison? To be very, very clear, I could care less what Simone Biles says about me. I'm a very secure person. I know I'm on the right side of history. I'm married, so if she wants to say I look like a man, I literally could care less. The most heartbreaking part about this, for me, is the platform that she has and the amount of young girls who look up to her, that she just in a blink of an eye sold out to appear to be virtuous. What we saw from Simone is the definition of pulling up the ladder behind you. I have a feeling that if Simone's inclusive dream came true, she would have 0 Olympic medals and no one would even know who she is. So if she wants to advocate for men and women's sports, by all means, it's America. You get to do that. I get to call you stupid for it, but you get to do that. Maybe in the 28 Olympics, she can compete and palm a horse in the rings. But I am going to keep standing up for women and girls, which is just about the least controversial take on the entire planet. The position that I have taken is the same position that about 90% of Americans have taken, which is that men should not be in women's sports. Simone Biles having internalized misogyny and being a male apologist was certainly not on my 2025 bingo card.
Now, I will say I do like how Riley is calling Simone out and showing her frustration with what she said, while also acknowledging respect where it's due. Because again, Simone is very talented, without question, and no one can take that away from her. And Riley is also acknowledging that Simone went through something terrible and unspeakable with Larry Nassar.
I am also a survivor of sexual abuse, and I believe without a doubt that the circumstances that led to my abuse and allowed it to continue are directly the result of the fact that the organizations created by Congress to oversee and protect me as an athlete, USA Gymnastics, and the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee failed to do their jobs. I don't want another young gymnast, Olympic athlete, or any individual to experience the horror that I and hundreds of others have endured before, during, and continuing to this day in the wake of the Larry Nassar abuse. To be clear, I blame Larry Nassar, and I also blame an entire system that enabled and perpetrated his abuse.
I mean, it's sad, and I definitely have the utmost sympathy for that. No woman should ever have to deal with that, especially that young, and just like me, Riley definitely wasn't downplaying that. Which should really tell you that people who don't want trans women in their safe spaces aren't just bigoted. They're human beings who also show normal emotions, including empathy, just like Riley here showed empathy for Simone. But just in case that video that Riley made wasn't clear enough, she reaffirmed that in a post on X, saying, "To make my position on both topics very, very, very clear, I hope Larry Nassar spends the rest of his life rotting away and miserable in prison. Gymnasts were failed by a system that protected an abusive man at the expense of girls' safety. Also, men don't belong in women's sports. Female athletes continue to be failed by a system that protects abusive men at the expense of girls' safety," while also affirming her frustration and calling out Simone's double standard with the video of Simone testifying about Larry Nassar versus her post on X regarding Riley. Which, let me be very clear, having that double standard does not mean Simone deserved what she got from Nassar. No way. What I am saying is that if anything, you would think it would make Simone more understanding and have common ground with Riley, whom, just like Simone, stands for vulnerable women when they should be protected. But no, she essentially became the very thing that burnt her in terms of body shaming, and she can't see outside her own bubble. And for that, she's definitely not beyond reproach, so thankfully, her own kind was willing to hold her accountable.
Simone Biles tearing down Riley Gaines and telling her that she should be supporting the trans community and that she lost and that she should accept the fact that she lost is probably the most disgusting thing I've seen in a long time. It's Simone Biles. I don't know who she owes. I don't know who paid her to say that. But it is 100% paid. To go one step further and tweet that Riley Gaines, her actual competition, and quote unquote pick on somebody your own size would be a male. This is the reason I'm publicly coming out and saying this. I've never been a fan of Simone Biles. She's always been a mean girl. You guys just never paid attention to the signs.
What Simone Biles tweeted was manipulative. I think it was performative. And to be honest, coming from an Olympic champion, I'm very disappointed. To publicly call out Riley Gaines really confuses me because she stands up for biological women, and y'all seem more concerned to stand up for biological men, trans women, and I don't understand it. Called her a sore loser because she doesn't want to compete against biological men. Like, be absolutely for real. Or you can't see it because you didn't have to compete against a biological man in your division. Then the icing on the cake is trying to stand up for all women, trans women, but then deliberately comparing Riley Gaines' body to a man. This is why I call Simone Biles' tweet performative, because if you truly cared about all women, then you would understand where Riley Gaines is coming from. She's standing for the majority of women, biological women. Simone Biles, I think you're an amazing, incredible athlete, but I definitely don't stand with people who do not stand with common sense.
Don't worry, Riley Gaines. I will say what you cannot say. That I am disappointed in you, Simone Biles. I thought you were an advocate for young girls. I thought you were an advocate for those who had been used and exploited. I thought you were an advocate for those whose voices had been silenced, and I thought wrong. I'm disappointed because today you've let down two communities. You've let down young girls who have supported you, and you've let down African Americans with this black-faced trope of laughing with nothing intelligent to say.
Which it's that much more powerful when your own people call you out. Don't get me wrong, everyone should, but the fact that women are seeing her as a detriment to other women means that they're waking up. And Simone and her PR team really knew that they were in some deep shit, because in an attempt to salvage her name, she posted on X that she wanted to follow up from her last tweets, that she's always believed competitive equity and inclusivity are both essential in sport, that the current system doesn't adequately balance these important principles, which often leads to frustration and heated exchanges, and it didn't help for her to get personal with Riley, which she apologizes for. That these are sensitive, complicated issues she doesn't have the answers to, but she believes it starts with empathy and respect. That she wasn't advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. Her objection is to be singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful. That individual athletes, especially kids, should never be the focus of criticism of a flawed system that they have no control over. That she believes sports organizations have a responsibility to come up with rules supporting inclusion while maintaining fair competition, and that we all want a future for sport that is fair, inclusive, and respectful. Which, yes, we should not be singling out kids because they don't have control over a flawed system, but that wasn't Riley's intent. All she said was that kid had an unfair advantage that allowed them to win, which is true, which, by the way, in this particular unfair system, the only way to achieve fairness in sports, for the most part, is to focus less on inclusivity. That's what Simone doesn't seem to get. And besides that, it's clear that Simone's PR team wrote it, because genuine apologies would look like, I understand that it's never acceptable to personally attack someone, and I apologize for that, and maybe extend some of that empathy she was talking about in her post to Riley, because just as Riley acknowledges the walk of life that Simone comes from and still gives her flowers, Simone isn't extending that same grace, which to me makes Riley more of a role model than Simone, and the tides have been shifting so that the public is listening more to the former than the latter. But guys, I want to thank you all for watching this video as always, and if you appreciated my commentary, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned a subscription. Here's some more videos for you to watch in the meantime. Until next time, peace out.